Before we get into this video, I just want to say from the last time I posted until now, I gained over 100 subscribers because one of my videos on TikTok like literally blew up. So if you're new here, I'm Bishop and this is my channel, Amer Vlogs. It's mainly lifestyle content, do day in the life, travel, all that good stuff. This video is a little bit different, but it still falls in the lifestyle category, so I hope you guys enjoy, and yeah.
Yeah. And I got a colorful aura, like I got neon lights. Yeah. And I got a colorful aura.
Say Happy New Year, and I hope your guys' break is going really well. I think by the time I post this, Christmas break is going to be over, but for today's video, I'm going to be finally sitting down and talking about how I got my license. I got to the point where multiple people asked me, so I was like, I might as well just make a YouTube video about it, explaining everything that way. Like, if I missed something before, they could come back to this and be like, oh, you know, I can do this, or yada, yada, yada. So that's what we're going to do today. I have everything written down on my phone, so I'm going to be looking down to remember stuff because it was a lot. Also, I'm gonna break this video up into sections. You slide, it should be like broken off into sections. I'm gonna be talking about the process before getting a permit, after your permit, and then the process between the permit before a license and then after your license. So skip to whatever part you're at, or if you haven't started at all, then you could just watch the whole thing. Just a heads up, I do live in California, so the rules might be a little different if you're not in California. I'm not sure. I feel like the process should still be the same. It's just like different, like maybe age requirements or whatnot. So we gonna start. Let me put my glasses on. Like so studious. I look so studious. First things first, if you haven't started at all, that's totally fine. Everybody's process is different. The thing you want to do is complete your driver's education. The one I did was $12.95 at the time, but I'm sure the prices have went up. I'm actually coming up on my year since, you know, I got everything. I did my driver's education in 2020. You can find the driver's ed online by looking up California's driver's ed, but if you live in a different state, just look up your state driver's ed, and there's like a whole bunch you could do. Just make sure like the site is like legit and like other people have used it, because I'm sure there's scams out there that's charging like $100 for something you could get for 10. So that's the important thing. The driver's ed is broken up into sections, so it's kind of like chapter 1, and it would be like section A, section B, section D, section C. Oh, like all that good stuff. You could do one chapter a day and just pace yourself. I wouldn't recommend doing all of it in one day, because then you're not going to remember anything and you're just like rushing through it. And just take your time. When you're doing this, make sure you remember like the important things. So it's going to be talking about the difference of lights that you have, the speed limit, when it's the most dangerous time to drive, what lights to use in the fog, what hand signals to use if your blinkers don't work, all that good stuff. So going to be going over the regulatory signs. I think that's what it's called. It's like, you know, the signs that are triangles or yellow or orange, and the construction signs and all that good stuff. That's what it's going to be talking about as well. Once you finish, they'll have you take a test at the end. That's not your permit test. It's just the completion of the driver's ed. And I think you need a 70% to pass. It's either 70 or 80% to pass. And once you do that, they'll send it to your house within like a week. Mine came pretty fast. Yeah. Next section is going to be how to get your permit after you finish the driver's ed. So once you finish your driver's ed and you got the certificate, you're good to go. To do my permit test, I went in person to schedule my test. I went to the DMV, the nearest DMV next to me. It's very, very, very important to do. Once you go to the DMV, you need to bring the driver's ed certificate that you completed. You need your birth certificate, like your social security card, car insurance, basically like everything that proves like you're alive, if that makes sense, like you're a citizen of the US. So just bring all that stuff and have your guardian bring the same. After this, you'll have to pay a fee for the test. It's really cheap. I don't remember. It's nothing over $50. That's all I know. It's not like really expensive to take the test. They'll bring you to like the side, and they'll have you do an eye test. And if you're blind like me, don't worry. Like, they'll obviously know. You'll still have to take the eye test though. And after the eye test, it will say RSTRCORR lens. It will mark it on your permit that you need glasses. So don't worry about that. And if you have contacts on, I'm not sure what happens if you have contacts on. Probably will still let them know like, hey, I'm wearing contacts right now, X, Y, and Z. And after that, they'll take your photo, and then that's when you take the test. The test is multiple choice, and you can go back to the questions that you didn't know. Like they'll have like a little flag thing. It's kind of like the state testing that you take at schools, but they'll have a little flag thing for you. If you don't know, you want to go back. The DMV I took the test at, it had standing computers, and it was like this. So like, let me see. It was like this to where you couldn't see anybody on the sides of you, which is good. But I was so freaking nervous, and this guy came, right? He came after me and finished before me, and I was like, I was a little nervous, like maybe I'm going too slow, but then no, take your time. Like it's not a rush. You could be there for 5 hours for all they care. Just take your time and don't rush on the test, y'all. It's very important not to. And after you pass, they'll print out your permit, and it's gonna be on paper. It's gonna be like this. It's gonna be like this type of, I think it's gonna be a little bit bigger than this. It'll have like your picture and like some information on the side. Don't get it confused with an ID, because it's not your ID. It will say like permit, yada yada. I wish I could find mine. Hold on, let me see if I could find mine. Couldn't find it, but where was I? If you don't pass your first time, that's okay. Like not everybody passes their first time. I would just say to make sure you go back and study like the concepts over again. And there's plenty of online tests that you can do that like prepares you for the permit test itself. So yeah, I'm not sure if you have to pay again to redo it, but I don't know. The next section of this video is going to be what to do after you have your permit. What you need to do is practice driving as much as possible, whether that's driving to school, driving back from school, driving to the grocery store, driving to just drive anywhere. But I mean, you have to have a parent over the age of 25 or somebody with their license in the car. If you don't live in California, the ages might be different. You probably could drive by yourself with a permit in freaking Florida or Ohio or something. I don't know, but California needs somebody over 25. So what me and my mom did was I just drove to school, I drove back from school, and she just sat in the passenger seat the whole time when we did that. I mean, and make sure you got somebody who isn't very nervous. If you're a parent watching this, try your best to keep calm, because when you're screaming and yelling and being really nervous, makes the driver even more nervous to be in the car while that's happening. So just try to keep your composure. I know it's scary, but try to keep your composure. As seen as it sounds, get new driver stickers. Like I was a little bit embarrassed to have one, because all my friends seen it. They were like, hey, I saw you driving, I saw your new driver stickers. And I was just like, cut the camera. It's not embarrassing at all whatsoever. It's a good thing to have one, because when you're driving on the road, and if it's like your first ever time, having those, they'll make sure like to slow down, they go around you, they won't hug at you, all that good stuff. They'll be patient with you. And I feel like as you drive more and as you progress more, then you could start taking it off sometimes and be like, okay, let's see how this goes. And yeah, before you get your license, you need to have at least 50 hours driven in total, and you need 10 of those 50 hours to be at night. There isn't like a thing that you have to keep track of or anything, but I would recommend not lying, because that would just self-sabotage yourself into your actual driver's course and getting your license. So practice, take as much time as you need. It's not a rush at all. Now, between the time of having your permit and getting your license is 6 months. So during that time, after you feel comfortable driving and get all those hours in, this is time for the driving classes. The driving classes are very expensive. So I would say if you're watching this right now and you're about to turn 15, to start saving now, or have like a talk with your parents and be like, look, for my birthday, for Christmas, can y'all buy me this? I feel like I think the cheapest one is probably $300, maybe $200, and you need to do this. Like there's no way to get your license without doing this. So it was 3 2-hour sessions. So we met up 3 times and drove around for 2 hours. My first time I was really nervous. But the good thing with the driver classes is they have brakes on their side, and they're more calmer than your parents. They won't like scream at you or yell at you, and they won't be like really nervous or anything. They'll just be like, hey, slow down. Or sometimes they'll push the brake for you, won't even say anything, make you think that you're doing something. But yeah, the driving classes are really chill, really cool. Make sure to get somebody that has like good reviews, is very flexible, but you need to make sure you're flexible at the same time, because the driver instructor does many kids during this time, so you're just like another kid in their situation. My driver instructor on my last course, he actually took me around the driving course that I had to do for my license, which was really good. You don't have to do it in like a certain amount of time. You, like I said, you could take your time, do one driving class once a month. I want to say I completed these driving courses in about 5 months, because I just spread it out. Like I did a driving course, then drove school, back to school, all that good stuff, then another driving course. I was getting like more comfortable, you know what I'm saying? So it's not a rush into taking the driver's class. It's not like, oh, you need to complete it by February 1st or we're dropping or something like that. The next section of this video is going to be talking about how to get your license after you have your permit and you already finished your driver's classes. So once you complete the driver's classes and the 50 hours in total and have had your permit for 6 months, this is very important because they will not let you do it, and they will not round you up at all. You have to wait till you have your permit for 6 months. And the way I did it, I was able to get take the behind the wheel test like 2 days after my birthday. So yeah, you can schedule your appointment online by looking up driver's license California, or like I said, whatever state you live in. And after you do that, you have to set up an account, and then it will ask for the car license plate that you're using to drive, your birthday, and then you can set up a date and time. I would also recommend to drive the car that you've been practicing in for the driver's test, because you don't want to hop in somebody else's car. And you know, because I don't care what nobody say, each car is different. Like each brakes are different. Some people's brakes, like you barely tap it and it stops. Others you have to like really put your foot on it. So make sure you take the driver's test with the car that you've been practicing in the most, or the car you feel most comfortable in. The behind the wheel test, you need your permit, your certificate from your driver's classes, and the insurance of the car that you'll be using. Not sure if you need the registration of the car, but make sure your parent is with you too, so like bring their license. Most important thing I would recommend is to arrive 10 to 25 minutes earlier, because some days, I know the DMV is always busy, but some days it's like very, very hectic. Just make sure you come early. Do not rush the test, and try not to let the nerves get to you. Me, I was panicking. I was so nervous. I was so scared. I was like, oh my gosh, I hope I pass. I hope I pass. I was really scared. The behind the wheel test is literally 5 minutes. Like you just go in a little circle around the town. It's not that difficult at all. They will have you pull over to the curb and then back up. Make sure you're not super close to the curb or on the curb at all, because that's how I failed my first driver's test. I actually got disqualified. It's really not funny because I was so irritated when it happened. I was so sad, but I ended up getting disqualified because they have you pull over to the side. So let me show y'all. So this is a curb, right? And they have you drive, and they have you drive next to the curb, and then you're supposed to like back up for like a couple of feet. It's like, I think it was 50 feet. And apparently I was too close to the curb, and he was like, oh, you're on the curb. And then he didn't even tell me. He was like, oh, you're on the curb. And I was like, I am? He was like, yeah. And then so we went back, and then he was like, oh, you got disqualified. You could have been told me that. I'm thinking, well, I passed, I ate. And the funny thing is I had 0 marks on everything else. I was just, I guess, too close to the curb. So make sure you practice, like when you're parking, make sure to go next to a curb, but don't be on it. Don't be too close next to it. And other little stuff like that. Make sure when you cross the intersection, even if your light's green, make sure you look both ways. And make sure that they see you looking both ways. Because if you go like this, they gonna mark you. They're gonna be like, didn't look, or whatever like that. So you make sure, you know, you're driving across the intersection, look. Don't make it obvious. How do I say this? Like, so say you're driving, like do that. And make sure they see you, but don't be like, don't do that. Just be like, and keep it pushing, you know what I'm saying? Like, la la. And make sure 10 and 2, or 2 and 10, however you're seeing this video. I think it's gonna be like flip. make sure you keep the 10 and 2, because if you don't, you drive with one hand, they gonna mark you too. You need to drive like this. Watch out for the speed limits, cause sometimes it switch from 45 to 30 real fast. Just, you know. And they're literally like Siri, so that's pretty good. They won't tell you right at the light, turn right. They'll be like, at the next light, turn right, or at the next light, could you turn left? And sometimes they make you get over like 2 lanes. Cause I remember I was in this lane and they had me get over to the turning lane. Make sure you look in your blind spot. Like, this is the behind your seat. So say this is the back of your seat, right? And you know, you're driving, you gotta get over. Make sure you look in the pocket of that mirror right here, and then your seat, and get over. Make sure you look, that's the most important thing. And do not turn on red lights. Like, do not turn right on red lights whatsoever. I don't think nobody's ever said this, but when you turn right on the red light, you're sometimes in the bike lane, and that's an immediate disqualification as well. So when you're turning right, make sure you see the broken lines before you get over into the bike lane. If you do fail the test, which you guys aren't because you got the best advice from me, but if you do, don't feel discouraged. Like I said, I failed my first time and I waited a month to retake the test. I was really sad. I didn't want to do it again. I was like, I don't even care anymore. I'm just wait till I'm 18. Don't feel discouraged. It's $8 to retake it, or it was $8 at the time to retake it. I would say to try not to wait too long and still keep driving, because then you're gonna start developing habits such as going over the speed limit, or turning right at red lights, not looking, all that good stuff. So I wouldn't recommend waiting a long period of time to retake your driver's test. After you get your license and you pass, you'll go to the front and they'll print out like a couple of papers. And just so you guys know, your permit picture is your driver's license picture until you turn 18, I think. Let me show you. This is the paper they printed out for me. Can you see that? Interim driver's license, and then the green says, first 12 months of license, may not transport passengers under 20 and may not drive between hours of 11 p.m. and 5 p.m. without a parent or other driver. So there are restrictions as well when driving. And you're probably thinking like, oh yeah, me and my friends finna go. My friends finna drive to Hawaii. No, driving people is such a big responsibility that I feel like nobody talks about, because not only are you driving for yourself, but you're driving for other people as well as having other people in your car. So I will say, before you do that, drive carefully and get the hang of it, and get your parents and their parents' approval before you do that. You know what I'm saying? If you have siblings, you could drive them to school and all that stuff, but don't be doing extra, you know what I'm saying? Because yeah, I'm gonna link everything down in the description box below in case you guys want to use the driver's ed that I did, or just wanted to see the whole process all over again. If you guys have questions or anything else you want to know, just let me know. I'll text back. I'm not a celebrity or nothing, so I'll text back and, you know, get to y'all if y'all need something. If you watched all the way to the end, I just want to say thank you, and I hope this helped you guys into getting your license or permit or whatever. And yeah, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.